Chiefs versus the Cowboys. This is a game that has a very high game total, 52 total points. So lots of points expected to be scored in this game, which to me is a little bit interesting because the Dallas Cowboys are getting a very difficult matchup against the Kansas City Chiefs defense. I actually kind of like some of the under bets for the Cowboys, which ultimately if the game ends up being that high scoring, we probably wouldn't be targeting all that much. This is a 3-point spread in favor of the Chiefs winning as well. I don't necessarily see a bet that I want to get to for that. I do think that the Chiefs are going to end up winning this game just because of their strength defensively. And you look at the Chiefs going against that terrible Dallas Cowboys defense. I just think that the Chiefs are going to be able to take advantage of that matchup. So if you wanted to bet on the Chiefs to win by 3.5 points or something like that, Fliff at plus 100 would be the route to go. If you think that the Chiefs can win, ESPN bet, now score bet at plus 160 would end up being the route to go there for you guys. Now, for the Chiefs, we are waiting on some injury news here for them. Isaiah Pacheco is likely to be good to go in this game, but the question is just how much he'll end up playing. Kareem Hunt has basically been the workhorse running back for the Chiefs over the past several of weeks and has looked good doing it. Ended up getting 30 carries in that game against the Colts, which kind of was a big help for them in that game. I just ultimately think we're staying away from the running backs there for the Chiefs. We do want to talk about the receiver situation as well. We know that Rice is currently questionable. We're expecting him to play, though. Nursing a hamstring injury. Again, not expected to sit. And then also Xavier Worthy. Both of them I am expecting to play. And if that ends up happening, I actually think we're getting a decent bet there with Xavier Worthy. And then worth calling out Noah Gray, currently questionable as well. He's probably most likely to sit, and if he does end up sitting, I just think we would end up seeing a little bit more Travis Kelce, and then we'd see a little bit of Robert Tonyan as well, but overall, maybe Kelce gets a few more snaps here and there. That doesn't really shift much. Now, one of my favorite bets in this game is going to be both Worthy and Rice, but looking at Rashid Rice to get over 72.5 receiving yards. It is worth calling out that this is a bet where if we pull it up here on the Prize Picks Optimizer, we are being told to kind of bet the under. It's basically a 50-50 split for their line of 73.5. You can shop around and get this at 72.5, but I did want to call us out. Like his unders are somewhat the favorite here. Nothing too crazy, though. The 6.5 receptions, though, is really what I wanted to call out. I was thinking about betting on him to get over 6.5 receptions. But when I see the line here has a 52.4% likelihood for the under to hit, that just ends up being a bet that I want to not get to. And so as a result, we can still bet on him to have a good game here against the Giants and bet him on 73.5, 72.5, 72.5, 73.5 receiving yards instead. Because obviously if he does end up getting to over 6.5 receptions, he probably will end up getting to his over receiving yards. Now, the reason why we end up liking this bet is going to be because of the matchup here with the Dallas Cowboys, who on average give up about 55.8 receiving yards per receiver. And if you look at the Chiefs, it's really a funnel offense where it's just maybe a little bit of Kelce, but it's going to be Rice first, then maybe Kelce or Worthy. And so this is the matchup that gives up the fourth most receiving yards to opposing receivers. And so with that, I do expect Rice to end up having a good game. So I do like the idea of getting to his over receiving yards. Again, more so of 72.5 receiving yards, but overall this ends up being a good spot as well. And the player that I actually like the most is going to be Xavier Worthy to get over his receiving yards here of 36.5. I am really kind of shocked at this line because he is actually the player that's getting the most snaps here for the Chiefs. He ended up getting 76% of the snaps 2 weeks ago, 78% last week. That has maybe went down a little bit with Rice returning, but for the most part, we can bank on Worthy getting about 80 to 70% of the snaps, which obviously we would love to get in this phenomenal matchup here against the Dallas Cowboys, who again give up a ton of production to opposing receivers, the fourth most. Now, this is someone that if you didn't want to bet on his over receiving yards here of 36.5, taking advantage of this good matchup, then I would understand. Then you could also get to his over receiving or receptions of 2.5. Okay, I do end up liking this bet a decent amount. This bet on average has, a likelihood of like minus 155. So very much likely to hit this bet. We can see a bunch of green screens here for his over here. But if you want to go with his receiving yards, I do want to call out kind of the games here. So Indy, a little bit of an easier matchup, had a good game there. Denver, tough matchup, did not get the over. Buffalo, not the best matchup, did not get the over. Washington got the over easily, and then against the Raiders, missed it barely, okay? And that's important for this next bet. bet. And so that bet is going to be Patrick Mahomes to get over his passing yards, which on average is at 268.5, which is about minus 122 for the over to end up hitting. Again, this ends up being a very good matchup against Dallas, who on average, guys, gives up 270.3 passing yards to opposing quarterbacks. This is projected to be a close game and a high-scoring game, so we can expect more of a pass-heavy approach, I think, from the Chiefs. And you look at Patrick Mahomes in this matchup, he has been able to dominate in good matchups, okay? Again, looking at, guys, Indy, easy matchup, easily got the over. Denver, tough matchup, still got the over. Buffalo, not the best matchup, still close to getting the over. Washington got the over. Raiders got the over. So in games where he's had easy matchups, he has easily been able to get the over. The issue with the top three bets that I like here for the Chiefs is that if you stack them together, obviously it's going to reduce the payout. So you got to go about working those bets in some other way, or you can take the reduced payout if you guys want to end up going that route. And I did kind of bury the lead here, guys. We are getting a pretty massive prop line difference between the two sites here, between PrizePicks and Underdog for the fantasy score for Patrick Mahomes. So his over 21.5 for his fantasy score. If you guys are someone that bets on PrizePicks, that is just a bet you should be placing. No questions about it. If it ends up missing, it's kind of like you shrug your shoulders. You knew you were making the correct decision because look at it, guys. Projection data has it a little bit lower than the rest of the other data points, but still higher than the PrizePicks line. The average sportsbook line would have him at 23. And then Underdog has him closer to 24. So that's just clearly a bet that we need to be getting to. If you didn't want to bet on his over passing yards, which I do like, you'd be betting on his over 21.5 for his fantasy score. And then I will say, guys, again, I don't necessarily like the bets that we're getting here for Dallas. Brandon Aubrey to get under 8.5 kicking points is somewhat intriguing to me. The Chiefs only averaged 6.3 kicking points given up, sixth toughest for opposing kickers there. And again, this is a higher scoring game. And if you do think maybe the Chiefs end up winning by more, where the Cowboys are having to go for it on fourth downs a little bit more, this could end up being a good bet for you. I am struggling to find good bets here. So if you want to bet on the under, this would end up being the bet. But there are some others that we can talk about as well. Like Dak Prescott, guys, like all the data points are basically telling us to bet the unders. If you want to bet his over, 247.5 pass yards would be the way to go. I respect this Chiefs defense to really like that bet. We look at Javonte Williams as well. Javonte Williams gets a tough matchup. You would think that they would try to get him going. I just think the lines that we were getting for him are all correct as well. The best bet that we're getting is actually Turpin to really not be involved at all. So betting on him to get under 4.5 for his fantasy score ends up being the best bet here in this game, which I both hate and like. So Turpin ended up getting 46% of the snaps last week. If he ends up doing that again, I don't know if I necessarily like that because they are going to design plays for him. It just depends on whether or not he ends up hitting on any of those plays. One thing that could actually lead to him getting a little bit less snaps is if Jalen Tolbert ends up being active in this game as well, which he was inactive last week. So just be on the lookout for that. Did want to call that bet out. That is the best bet. And so just have to call it out. And then we look at CeeDee Lamb, guys. CeeDee Lamb, I don't want to mess with his unders. I actually like him to have a better game than Pickens. It's just kind of one of those things where Pickens has had a few good games in a row. And so with that, I would actually be more comfortable betting on Pickens to maybe struggle in this game to the point where it finally ends up being a good CeeDee Lamb game. And so we go ahead and get to the bet of the day here for this game. Just to recap, again, I do like Worthy to end up having a good game here against this bad Dallas Cowboys defense. If you want to do his receptions, you can do that. If you want to do his receiving yards, you can do that as well. I think both are clearly too low. Rashid Rice to get over 73.5 receiving yards. Again, just betting on the Chiefs winning and Patrick Mahomes to have a good game. We do have two Patrick Mahomes bets here, guys. So his over 21.5 for his fantasy score is just clearly too low of a line. So if you guys are someone that bets specifically on PrizePicks, that'd be the bet that you would want to get to. If you don't, if you bet on more traditional sites, then him to get over 267.5 pass yards ends up being a pretty good bet. And then, yeah, I'm struggling to get to any of the Dallas Cowboy bets for their overs. If there's one that you guys like, please let me know, honestly, in the comment section. I know Jake Ferguson to get over 4.5 receptions has about a 52% chance to hit. Maybe you could toss that one in there instead. And then Turpin, you just got to go with the best bet on the board and hope that it ends up hitting. The thing with it is, guys, these fantasy score prop bets have been hitting at their expected rates throughout the season. So I typically just roll with those. Now that's going to do it for this video. I do want to remind you guys of the 9to5 membership. If you guys would like access to the 9to5 tools, head on over to 9to5sports.com. Get access to all the tools available on the website, the golf tools, the NFL tools, the basketball tools, and all the prop tools for a low monthly cost of $10 a month. It's the best value out there. Take advantage of that. Thank you guys for watching. Good luck. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment your guys' favorite bet or bet that you potentially disagreed with in a kindly manner as always. Thank you guys for watching. Good luck. And as always, let's keep cashing.